The Afrobarometer's recent report here, gathering intel on how Ghanaians really feel about the free SHS policy. And they've been chronicling these reactions, our feelings, since about 2017 when it was implemented. This morning, we'll get into the merits, implementation, impact on education quality, and also financial sustainability. Now, with the results that have come out, I don't think we're very surprised. William, would you say by this? Now, let's summarize. Positive ratings of the government's performance in addressing educational needs have declined by some 44 percentage points since 2017. So it has now nosedived from 82% to 38%. And that's the ratings of how we assess government's performance in the education sector. William, does that nosedive surprise you?
No, not at all, because that has been the conversation from maybe around 2018 when we said that the concentration of government resources on the free SHS was affecting other areas of the education system, especially at the basic level. And EduWatch has been doing a lot of, talking on that subject. So correct. I'm not surprised. This is something that everybody knows already. I don't know how this will come as a surprise to anybody, because we still have schools under trees. We still have children, lying on the floor to study, and we're talking about free SHS. So the point is, how are we preparing the foundation for these children to enjoy the free SHS that we are all pushing? Because the foundation is key. At the end of the day, if your primary school education is weak, that's what we call it primary. It's foundational, it's basic. Right. As the name suggests. So if the government is trying to give what it doesn't have in the secondary school space, it's going to suffer, because education cannot be free anywhere. It must be paid for by somebody. So the government is saying that the parents shouldn't pay across the board. And we've been saying that cannot be, because Ghana hasn't gotten to a point where we have enough resources, or if money, to fund education at any level free. So we are suggesting review it, and then if possible, those who can pay should pay. Because as we speak, the quality is coming down so fast that some people have even taken decisions to withdraw their awards from the secondary school, because food is becoming a problem. We've had instances where we can't even feed the children. Right. And at that age, 15, 16, 17, they require a lot of food, good food, to learn well, to get around in other, extra activities, so that we can have a ballpark of education, not just numbers of passing. Because, data in terms of how many people pass and so on and so forth is fine. But how about their nutrition? How about electricity, water, where they will sleep? Everything must be paid for. But the government doesn't have money. And everything on the ground shows that the quality is coming down. And when you speak of quality, the defense that we get is that the numbers in terms of pass rate is good. But how can that alone determine the quality of education we are giving our children? Right. We can't say that. All right. And that is something that is reflecting in the report.
Let's take some more figures and break down the numbers here that are provided in the Afrobarometer's report. Senior high school enrollment levels increased by 17.2% in 2017 and 30.7% in 2018, as almost all students who qualified their basic education certificate examination were placed into free secondary schools to continue their education. Government spending on education increased almost fivefold from 2017 to 2021 to accommodate the increased enrollment and address the stress on school infrastructure. The government adopted a double-track system that allows two separate cohorts of students in school at different times of the academic year. Now, while supporters describe the policy as bold and far-reaching, debates about its merits, implementation, impact on education quality, and financial sustainability continues. Now, the program's cost has left little fiscal space to fund educational infrastructure, the materials, with a heavy reliance on proceeds from Ghana's oil sector that leaves funding to the mercy of external factors because of the sector that is being relied on. Now, there was a breakdown here that I found very interesting. 50% of the sample size that was used, and I believe they spoke to about 2,400 Ghanaians, say that they don't think we should have a case where you have an educated population that is unemployed. They think that even if you're going to provide free SHS just to have an educated, unemployed population, they think if that's what's going to be the outcome, then something has to be done. Is it enough just to have educated, persons when there's no real prospect after the fact?
See, when we talk about educated, I need a little explanation, definition, breakdown of what we mean by education.
Right.
Because, you see, I have said that education for me should touch your worldview, the way you see things around the world, the way you see things around you, your reaction. And we know children learn by what they see. And I'm saying they are seeing too much suffering there. And I'm talking not as a journalist or as an observer. I have my daughter in free SHS.
Right.
Or if you like secondary school, as we speak. When school started, we were expecting her to be in school, and of course we were expecting them to be in school for a month, 2 months or thereabout. But around 5-6 weeks, we had the directive that they should come home. Something we hadn't planned for.
Right.
And
I recall that time we were here.
And as I'm speaking to you, we've had to pay for her to go to back to school for classes. And some of these classes are organized officially, and some are private, and we are paying. So at the end of the day, we are paying for the classes, we are paying for TNT every day. And and some of these things happen when we haven't even planned. There's not everybody who has a house help or people in the house. So if my daughter is coming home, I schedule my leave so that I can bond with her. And now it's so abrupt. I have to find a way to keep her. So the free SHS is good. I mean, if it's free for those who cannot afford, why not?
Right.
But I'm saying that at the end of the day, can we just say education is just reading, passing, and checking out of the school? I don't think so. Because these individuals who are taking the decisions in the education space, they went to schools where they had breakfast, some had dinner, and they even had snacks free.
Right.
And when they finished school, top companies were parking their cars around the schools to employ them immediately. So when that they should improve on that. You see, when you went to school, the president was 79 years yesterday.
Right.
And when he went to school, he had good food to eat. And during his time, when you finish university, companies were ready to employ you. So he should improve on that. It is not education where you just can read and write and check out. Then do what? So we're saying that, look, let us support you. We go and we pay, they say teacher support this. Then we shouldn't pay PTA. But we are paying PTA. We are paying. If it's not official, we are paying. They should go to the schools and check.
And you are not the only parent who has brought out this information.
You can sit there as a minister and talk at the policy level and say we have done this per the data. But what is on the ground is what we are talking about. It is not a matter of policy and political talk. On the ground, parents are still paying.
And this is a fact.
And those who don't like the quality of the schools have been forced to take their children to private schools. And these days, the private schools are doing well. We see them, they even come here, we see they are providing for them. So I'm saying that last year we had a lot of instances where we couldn't even feed the kids.
That's right. We had to suspend sporting activity because there was not enough nutrition.
But how can you, suspend sporting activity for young people? How can you not give them good food? How can you truncate the term and let them come home after 5 weeks? And how can you tell me to go and pay 1,200 within a few weeks to get my daughter or my son to back to school for classes, and you're telling me it's free? If it's free, it should be free for those who cannot afford. Cocoa scholarship came for those who were in the cocoa growing areas and they couldn't afford. So why don't we just come? The political, score has been gotten already by the president. Nobody can take that away from him.
Right.
So we must move on from there. I mean, he said he was going to do. He has done it. Thank you very much. But I'm saying beyond that, we should review it. We're not saying we should scrap it. The review doesn't mean we should scrap it. Where they can introduce some means test, and then, or they even can set up a free SHS education fund where parents can now officially, it is not that if you see parents' platforms,
right?
Every day they are asking for money. Every day. Washrooms, broken down systems, broken down boreholes, we are fixing them. Because if
Right.
you add all to the government bill, they cannot afford, because government does not have money. If we had money, we wouldn't be begging the Paris Club, we wouldn't be begging China, we wouldn't be begging Germany, US and co. to help us get 3 billion cedis, which is something that we are saying that will fix the economy. We don't have the money.
Well, a lot still for you and I to sink our teeth into. We're joined on the telephone right now by Mavis Dom, Ghana National Investigator for the Afrobarometer Survey. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to hear from you, Mavis. How are you this morning?
Well.
Yes, a good morning to you. Now, we're talking about this recent survey as concerns Ghanaians' thoughts and feelings on free SHS. Your key findings ultimately indicate that there's a nosedive, if you will, in terms of the percentage on how Ghanaians feel about government's response to education in Ghana. So please set the scene for us. What was the sample size that were used? What sorts of people were spoken to, and ultimately, what was Afrobarometer seeking to find out from this survey?
Thank you. So let me start with what Afrobarometer generally seeks to do,
Sure.
And then to our sample size.
All right.
So Afrobarometer started in 1999. So we are in the current round of surveys. In fact, we have actually almost finished. And it's across right now over 36 countries in Africa. And every 2 years, there's a round of surveys that speak to gauge citizen views on various matters ranging from governance, democracy, economic, and social issues. And so every 2 years, there's new data concerning Ghana. Since around 5, that's about 2014, 2015, Ghana surveys sample size have been 2,400.
Right.
So Ghana surveys have been 2,400. So with the current round, it's also 2,400.
400. And is it spread across the entire country? How do you identify who to speak with?
So yes, actually, since 2012, our surveys have been 2,400, and then it's a nationwide survey with a sample size of 2,400. And with the sample size of 2,400, it gives us a margin of error of plus or minus 2 given our population size. That has not yet, the margin of error has not yet changed over the years. People may talk about population growth, but the margin of error has not changed yet. And it gives us a confidence level of 95.
Right.
So, so the 2,400 can stick to the Ghanaian population. In that, we use also our sampling methods allow randomness. So from the population, so it's population proportion. So from the national population, the 2,400 is distributed across the region based on their contribution to the population, their proportion to the population. We don't take districts. We use the Ghana Statistical Service to do our randomness. So our sample size is distributed across the region and across the urban and rural divide of the country. How much urban population is and how much rural population is. It is based on that divide. Then when it comes to where we go to, it's based on randomness. With the Ghana Statistical Service, we use the enumeration areas and we select the enumeration areas in a region based on randomness. So wherever it goes, that is where we go to. So it's at the end of the survey, we can actually end up getting the number of districts that were visited. But we are able to know that, this is the number of EAs we went to, enumeration area we went to. But when it comes to districts, we cannot tell that. So, but it's randomness, and it ensures representation of the country's population. So views reflect Ghanaian views generally.
Yeah. Now, Mavis, are you able to run us through your key findings? I know there are about 4 or 5.
So this particular survey, we looked at, for some of the issues, we looked at data from 1999, but some of the issues we looked at data from 2019.
Right.
And so what we are doing surveys, every round of surveys, we look at key policy issues that are going on in the country, and we ask questions around that. So that is where the questions around the free SHS came in since 2019. And also when our CDB was doing our pre-election, post-election survey, we also equally added this free SHS questions because of the fact that it's a campaign promise which is ongoing. So we added that. And if you look at the key findings, the majority of Ghanaians, yes, support the free SHS policy. They say that it creates opportunity for more students to be in school.
That's some 87%.
Almost 87%. That is almost 9 in 10 Ghanaians saying this. And you can reflect that to the increasing number of student enrollment in free SHS. When it comes to this policy debate we are having right now as to whether it should target only the poor or it should be a wholesale, then Ghanaians are divided in that view that while some say that it should target only the poor, another almost the same, 48% says target only the poor, and then 46% says that it should target everybody.
Right.
But then, if you disaggregate the data, you would see that among what we do as a poverty index for Afrobarometer, who has experienced poverty based on basic needs, and who have not. So those who do not experience poverty, those who experience poverty are like, those who have not experienced poverty are of the view that, well, free SHS should, more of them compared to those who have experienced poverty are of the view that, free SHS should target the poor.
Right.
So that is where we are. When it comes to issues of infrastructure, respondents says government should put all necessary infrastructure in place. Half of the majority population says government should have put structures in place before starting the policy, and then 45% equally says that it's good that it has started whilst addressing the challenges as it arrives. So that in that view too, in terms of infrastructure, Ghanaians are split on their views as well. So when it comes to the performance, over the years since 1999, we have seen different performance level. But when you look at after the time, the period within which the free SHS was started,
right,
2007 and 17, and now you would realize that it has taken a note that people's view on government performance. The positive ratings have really taken a very huge nosedive.
That's right.
82% in when the policy just started to 38%, and you can link that to that easily to the issues that are arising as a result of the implementation of education policy, and not just PHS, but generally education policies in Ghana.
Right. And Mavis, before we let you go, what was the interaction with, let's say, the Ministry of Education when this survey was conducted, if any?
Right. So after 2019, we did share the results with them, and our hopes are that they work with it. And this paper also informs the current debate that is ongoing, and for which we hope that this findings will help them in the discussions of the ongoing review make a lot of informed decisions, particularly around how people are viewing the performance of government in addressing educational needs, as well as people's view on how the policy should be implemented. We are hoping that this will inform policy discussions. Yes.
Thank you so much for that, Mavis, and for breaking down the stats and the findings of this Afro Barometer survey. Grateful for your time this morning. And we were just speaking there with Mavis Domegana, National Investigator for the Afro Barometer survey, breaking down the numbers and also the key findings. We're also joined on the telephone by Mr. Charles Aheto Chega, former Director General, Ghana Education Service, also Education Policy Analyst. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for your time this morning. Hope you're well.
Oh, I'm doing well. Your volume is a bit lower for me, but anyway, let's go on.
All right. Apologies for that. I'll try and speak up. Let me know if this is better.
Yes, this is a little better.
All right. We were just speaking with a national investigator for the Afro Barometer survey, and they've recently released some of their survey findings concerning free SHS. So they talk about the merits, implementation, impact on education quality, and also the financial sustainability. They spoke with a sample size of about 2,400 Ghanaians, and from set findings, positive ratings on government's performance in addressing educational needs have declined by some 44 percentage points since 2017, a nosedive from 82% to 38%. What do you make of these findings?
Well, these findings actually represent the changes and the implementation of the policy. When I talk about the changes in the implementation of the policy, I'm referring to, it looks like the real logic and the substance of what is to be done under the policy have not been achieved. And for that matter, people are becoming very disappointed and disgruntled. And clearly, it gives room and reason for the huge call for a review. Essentially, it reflects the fact that we don't have a clear-cut objection to the policy, but it appears as if people have concerns about the way it has been implemented and the hardcore stance that the government seems to take on the possibility of looking at the review, which will enable a certain direction that would inure to Ghanaians in terms of the benefits of education in the country.
And what you are saying now supports the key findings from this survey. I'll read out the first two, and you can weigh in on that. Well, in 2019, an overwhelming majority, 87% of Ghanaians, said the free SHS policy created an opportunity for many students who otherwise would not have been able to pay for the education. Ghanaians at the time were about evenly split on whether the policy should have targeted only the poor. Now, 50% of Ghanaians said it was better to have free senior high school, even if it led to an increase in the number of educated citizens who cannot find a job, whilst 50% of respondents said the government should have put all the necessary structures in place before implementing the free school policy. 45% believed it was right to start implementation and address the challenges as they arose. And this is 2019's figures. And as we now know, these figures have dwindled. What do you make of this assertion that 50% of Ghanaians said it's better to have this free SHS policy, even if it means having an increased number of educated citizens who will be rendered unemployed for a long time?
It's very interesting because I like the conclusion. Even if it means a certain number of educated people, but again, they could not even determine what educated people are. Because again, you build educated people on educated people. You build on people who really want to pursue education, and not people who think they have an entitlement to education. So that is where the problem is. We chose to allow people to go on a program where we thought that because they were citizens, they had an entitlement which they had to literally receive, and for that matter, we should give it to them. When in fact, this is about a case of people who have what it takes to continue, especially when it comes to senior high schools.
Now, sorry, please carry on.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, that is where they got it wrong, and that is where we really have to begin to start looking at the policy again and begin to think that not everybody has what it takes to go into the kinds of programs that we have on offer in the SSS. Now we have made it to include the TVET, and so that broadens the space and gives us some additional reason to look at a new decision that was not even part of the original concept, placing people where they should be. And then we can get the results that we want to get in the implementation of the policy.
That's an interesting take. Let's talk about the financial implications as well. And this, again, I'm reading from Afrobarometer's survey. Government spending on education increased almost fivefold between 2017 and 2021. Now, to accommodate the increased enrollment and address the stress on school infrastructure, the government adopted a double-track system. Now, while supporters describe the policy as bold and far-reaching, the debate about its merit and impact and also financial sustainability continues. Now, at a time like this where we are virtually on our knees, we're looking for money. It's hard to come by. We're asking for debt forgiveness. We're looking for an IMF bailout. Why do you think there is still such a strong opposition to even the suggestion of a review of free SHS?
It's a rather interesting question, because I think the people who are preventing a review of the policy have not said why they want to prevent the review of the policy. So they would probably be the right people to answer. When we say that we want a review because it's not working the way we wanted it to work, and you say no, we don't want a review, without even giving us any reason why you don't want a review. So in that case, I mean, from the conditions that you just defined, it gives us a reason to take those conditions to those who are resistant to the review and say that, now look, here is all that you are doing to look for money to do a program that you initially didn't think through. Can we sit down then under the circumstance and use that as a basis to now do the review that you are resisting? Because again, I mean, there is a wrong assumption that review means either demolition or destruction or rejection. But that is not the case. I mean, nobody has said review meant the demolishing the whole concept of the free SHS. So there is a clear misunderstanding and a lack of thought about what the opponents of review are thinking. And that is creating the kind of situation that we are finding ourselves in.
What is your take then on the current state of infrastructure in our SHS sector?
Yeah, well, let me say that there have been some efforts to try to create some adequacy in the system at the different SHSs. You can't say that for all the schools, but it is clear that there's some effort to do that. But again, the part where we miss out is maintenance, because there were structures before you are putting in these new ones. Why don't we spend money to maintain those ones that are in existence and ensure that we can continue to get a double benefit of the kind of infrastructure space we have in our system? That is not what we are doing. I mean, our old structures are in very terrible situation. In fact, schools that do not have infrastructure are not getting it at all. And thanks to GNPC, who are using either state money or their own money, to try and support some schools. And I drop my heart to them. We have a real challenge in terms of infrastructure. And it is not the building of the new ones, but the maintenance of the old ones, which then would ensure that we are doing something that would also help people to get the most out of this program.
Now, what do you also make of this assertion that there is too much emphasis or attention on secondary schools to the detriment of our basic stroke primary schools?
Yeah. That one is even, it's too obvious to require mention.
Right.
Nobody, because you see, we if you look at our education budget, we have a component that is called ABFA under goods and services, and we are getting close to two. Not there. All that money has been put into free SHS. I mean, given the assumption as if basic schools don't need support. I mean, as if technical schools don't need support. And so you have all this money put into secondary school. And how would we make progress? And to add insult to injury, you come back to where, we get our money, take 25% and put it where only God knows and tell us to go and look for loans. And now we are becoming indebted. Part of the whole indebtedness. So we are actually squeezing ourselves in the education sector to keep moving. And so nothing seems to work. No capitation grant. Schools, with the past, we have certain subsidies which were running. They are no more. You can't even see yourself so that you can find a state where you say you are looking for money to get things done in school. It's a terrible situation.
And also, what do you make of the capping of the GET fund?
Oh, the capping of the GET fund is wickedness in the first order. It is robbing Peter wrongly to pay some Paul and Georginas somewhere that we don't know when we need the money. Our education budget shows that at least we have only 5% of our total budget given to goods and services. Only 5%. And that is the wheel that runs the education system. Now, if you want to tell us that you want to cap education, cap the 25% and put it into the, the goods and services. So at least we can have some sustained supply of things that we need to teach children in our schools. You have removed that one. You are keeping the 5%. You have taken the 25% to only God knows who. And we're asking, the needs that we have, is it not more important than others that we are going to give the money to? Why should you take education money that is very scarce and give it to who? Give it to who? And I have been calling and I have been educating that the whole country must ask, where did you put that 25%? We want to see it and tell me that it doesn't go to health. Because that will be a double punishment to education.
You say this is wickedness, sheer wickedness.
It's wickedness, absolute wickedness. Absolute wickedness. Which I can't even try and understand. I've thought about it and I can't find any reason why you take 25% of our money and give it. And they don't even tell us who they are giving it to. They say they have capped it 25% and only God knows where it goes. Only God knows where it goes.
Time check, it is. I beg your pardon. I was just going to say it's some 27 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 a.m. We're speaking with Mr. Charles Aheto Chega, former Director General, Ghana Education Service, also an education policy analyst. We're dissecting the Afrobarometer survey findings. I also wanted to get your thoughts on this overemphasis on pass rates. Government after government will talk about the pass rate, talk about the numbers. Is there an overemphasis on examinations and pass rates as opposed to other components that ensure that education is of a high quality?
Well, again, the pass rate is the outcome of all that we are doing. It is an essential part of the discussion, and it's important that we focus on it. We focus on it to indicate that really we are doing something when it comes to education expectations. So, yes, we will look at the pass rate, and it is important that we look at pass rate so that we can ensure continuity in terms of excellence. So the overemphasis is not, it's not bad in itself, but an overemphasis which does not provide resources to ensure that things go the right way becomes, again, as I say, wickedness. Because you are trying to push people to do the unusual when in fact you are not doing your part of the bargain. You are not doing your part of the bargain. Look, today, I always laugh. Who said that we were doing a free education system? I mean, at the beginning of this year, all of us were complaining, prospectus. But prospectus is a part of the school system. They have to. If government was providing all the sanitation facilities and the paper and all of those things to the schools, why would they have to tell parents to go look for them and bring them to the school? They wouldn't. They wouldn't. And that is what the problem is. Because they have to do something, cut through the rock to bring water to ensure that the children have something that they have. If I tell you that a certain school went out to even beg for money, extra cash from people because parents said it's free, and the children were hungry in the school. So the headmaster of the school now goes out to literally beg for people to get money, and thanks to some other people, and we're able to raise money from other sources. Why? Why? Because you say it's free. So that's the problem that we have. I mean, the pass rate, yes, we can focus on it, but let us do what will bring us the pass rate that we know would indicate that we are making progress as a nation.
Very interesting thoughts there this morning, and thank you so much for your time, and thank you for helping us get into the meat of the matter.
Okay, thank you very much.
And that again was Mr. Charles Chega, former Director General, Ghana Education Service, also an education policy analyst, sharing his thoughts on this. And he talks about the prospectus even. He says all of that should be part of the free SHS, but we have parents here. Well, let me see. They speak to us every day. The free is not really free.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, as you said, the pass rate will come and they'll claim credit. But it is supposed to be free, but I'm paying. So at the end of the day, it's deception. Because if I am supposed to save some money in this economic crunch to do other things, because the government is providing free SHS, but on the ground, that is not the case, then it means you are deceiving me. Because as I'm speaking today, the children are attending vacation classes and we are paying because they could not run the full course of the term because the Form 1s were going in and the Form 2s had to exit. So as we speak, it's the Form 1s and Form 3s who are in school and the Form 2s are at home. They can't stay home.
That's right.
Because they have exams to write next year. If I get the calendar right, next year, June, July, they'll be writing the Awasi. And if they are going to stay home, it's not going to help them. So we are forced to look for money, some 2,000, 1,500 and stuff like that, to give to them to go back to school for lessons. And we are paying TNT. Because if you're coming to work in the morning and if you have your own car, you have to go and drop them, it increases your fuel consumption. And if you are doing all these, and as Mr. Heto was saying, all these results in good performance, then you stand on the political platform and take credit. It is not fair. I would not describe it as wickedness, but it is not fair. You know, because if you cannot do the payments alone, which of course you can't, let us understand and review the policy.
Absolutely. Well, we've got 2 numbers that you can reach us on. We'll activate our phone lines very shortly, and then you too can weigh in on the issues. But this is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
3FM Sunrise.